everybody, welcome to this episode of Talking Indies in My Undies. My name is Jacob and I'll be your host. So it is that time of year again. Scrolling through Facebook and all these memories pop up. And it seems like every status that I see has to do with one topic. The Knoxville Film Festival. So 7-day shootout, this, that, the other, whether it's looking for a cast and crew, moments of horror where I just think there's no way in the world this is going to happen. I'm never doing this again. This is not even fun anymore. To great moments of success where we turned in a film, we met our goal of going out and making a short film in a limited amount of time. It really got me thinking about the Knoxville Film Festival and about the founder and the director of the Knoxville Film Festival, Keith McDaniel. As you're well aware, this would be 2 years ago that the film festival decided to shut the doors. Since we weren't going to be able to see him in the flesh at the film festival this year, I thought, man, let's get together with Keith and do this over a podcast. We did this last year. We did it again this year. Year 2 of catching up with Keith. And Keith's had some really cool stuff happening lately. Keith was featured on a news program recently about his work that he's doing with Roane County High School. Let's take 2 minutes and give that a listen.
Students at Roane County High School are producing their own on-air content under the guidance of a local legend in filmmaking. Reporter Aaron Velasquez takes us to that school and shows the behind the scenes of the growing program.
Good morning, Roane County High School. I'm Eli.
And I'm Becca.
Deep inside Roane County High School is a TV studio like no other.
When I came in here to start this program, there was no program.
The audiovisual class is taught by East Tennessee legendary filmmaker Keith McDaniel.
It's truly helpful to have such a wonderful teacher like him that has been in the shoes of a director and dealing with all this equipment.
Equipment that is at the professional level, giving these students first-hand experience.
So it gives you an opportunity to learn and get hands-on experience, so you're not just sitting in a classroom, which I think is great.
From podcasts,
you don't like the Beatles?
No.
To TV news.
Looks like fun, doesn't it?
Sure does, Becca.
The class offers an inside look into the media industry.
I think we're very lucky here at Roane County High School because we get to have this.
The students are grateful to be taught by McDaniel.
And it was amazing to see our teacher was directing that and making that happen. So that gave me hope that maybe I can be like that. Maybe I can do stuff like that because it's cool.
And to learn skills beyond those found in the TV studios.
But the skills that I also teach are those job skills, like how to meet a deadline, how to work together in a team.
All while putting on a show for their friends and families.
Like we did our own podcast, we've made our own short films and had them shown at the Princess Theater in Harriman, which was amazing.
That's it for this week's episode. Thanks for watching, and always, go Yellow Jackets.
That was Aaron Velasquez reporting. McDaniels adds it will be 50 years this spring since he graduated from Roane County High School. He will also be graduating his first class of seniors like Becca, who took the program for all 4 years since he started it.
I can't think of many things in this world that are more important works than passing on your knowledge to the next generation in hopes of potentially inspiring a passion within them in which they can get even more joy out of this life, having fun with audio and video. So anyways, we're going to get into that stuff with Keith. We're also just going to get general updates, hang out, see what's going on with his life. The small talk that we would have if we saw him at the film festival and ask how life's going. That's what this podcast is. So year 2 of catching up with Keith on this episode of Talking Indies in My Undies.
It's been almost 2 years since we did the last Knoxville Film Festival, and I think I've rested for about 2 years. I think that's what it is. It's been really nice not to worry about that, not have to work on it. I sort of miss it a little bit, but and I miss seeing the people. But of course I'm teaching. I just started my 4th year at Roane County High School teaching audio video production. We've been able to build a studio. They've been really good to me as far as having the funds to purchase high quality professional gear. So the kids get to use that. And it's production. It's a lot of fun because we do, we do study some things. Just like math and science and English, there's certain state requirements of things that I need to teach. But that's only about a third of what I have to teach. So I can pick whatever else we do. And, we do, projects all the time with the varying levels of courses that I teach. This is not just like one class. I teach, I'm a full-time. I teach all day, every day, and I teach, AV. So right now I've got AV1, AV2, AV in the spring I'll have AV3, and for the first time I'll have AV4. So there's a handful of students that will be in my AV4 class that I've had. They're graduating this year, and I've had them since they were freshmen. So I've had them for 4 years, which is really kind of rare in the CTE world that you're able to keep those kids for 4 years,
Yeah, that's amazing. And they just did this great profile from News Channel 10 on you. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
It was interesting. I had pitched this idea to Channel 10 a couple of years ago, but this was right after COVID. And, the hook was, here I am, I came back home to my high school where I graduated, and I'm starting this new program that didn't exist before. And, I didn't start it. They hired me to run it, to start it. But I did start it. I had no, curriculum. I had no textbook. I still don't have a textbook. I just teach what I know. I never heard anything back. So we have a new principal this year. And at the school, and one of the things he wanted us to do is kind of really showcase to the community what we're doing. And I said, well, here's an opportunity. So I reached back out to a contact I have at Channel 10 and pitched this idea again. And with the hook being 50 years ago this year, I was a senior at that high school. And I'm a senior again. I'm just happen to be a senior citizen. But anyway, so yeah, Aaron Velasquez from Channel 10 came out yesterday and we shot some B-roll in the studio, and he interviewed me, he interviewed a couple of my students, and they put together for the 11 o'clock last night. He left Kingston at 5:30, and it was on at the 11 o'clock last night. So anyway, it's really good to kind of showcase what we're doing.
So this is your 4th year teaching.
I'm starting my 4th year of teaching.
Yeah, so how's the progress with that? How do you feel about it, you're starting year 4 versus, year 1 or 2?
By now, I sort of know what I'm doing. I sort of know what works with this age group. I taught for a few years at Carson Newman as an adjunct, just, like 1 or 2 courses a semester. And I'm telling you, college kids are a whole lot different than high school kids.
But in what way?
College kids, you can treat them differently. You can treat them like, if you don't want to do the work, that's fine. That's up to you. It's up to you to do the work. Okay, it's not my job to make you do the work. In high school, it sort of is my job to make them do the work because they hadn't figured that out yet. I'm telling you, you see these videos or you see teachers talking about how things are completely different in the public school now, obviously, than they were when I was in school or even when you were even 10 years ago, even before COVID, things are different now. And it's a lot to do with, I think it's a generational thing as far as parenting and kids taking responsibility and kids caring. There's a lot of that stuff you have to deal with besides trying to be a teacher. A lot of it, they call it emotional social learning or social emotional learning. And of course, I've got students in my class, in all of my classes, that have some sort of disability. The state requires us to have certain modifications and accommodations for those students. So, that's just part and parcel of what teaching is today.
Yeah.
You have tough days. Okay, and then you have good days, then you have successes, and then you have things like this. At the end of the year last year, very last day of classes for the seniors, I had one student that was in one of my classes. I'd had him for a couple of years. He was kind of an awkward kid, and I always tried to make him feel like he was a part, of it, and that his contribution to what we were doing was important. Maybe to help build a little bit of his self-confidence. So when he left the class the last day, I noticed there was a letter that was laying on my desk. And it was from him. And I'm not going to tell you everything that was in it, but he says, you're a great teacher and a great man. He said, to be honest, you're almost like a father to me because I didn't have a father. Oh, wow. And, what can you say, man? That's the reason to keep going back. You know, if you can have an impact on a young person's life and help them mature and get a focus that's going to help benefit them, you know, in the future, I think that's important. Someone asked me the other day, they said, or they made a comment, said, well, at least you enjoy it. And I said, well, I don't know that I would use the word enjoy. I think it's important. I think it's important work, and it has a purpose. And what am I going to do? Sit at home and do nothing? I need to be doing something productive to help somebody, and might as well help these kids. They're, you know, learning to become adults.
Yes.
You know, so.
Well, they're
anyway.
very fortunate to have you. I know that for certain. Even if they don't recognize it at this point, you know, they can get some goofball over here, but they get the great Keith McDaniel to help them with their videos. I mean, this is an invaluable thing that you're giving these people.
There are 5 high schools in Roane County. We're the only high school that has this program.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. We're the largest high school in the county. We have about, I don't know, between 650, 700 students. But it's so funny. A couple of years ago, I had a class, and I like kids that are, I wouldn't say strong-willed, but they have their own opinions. You know, they have their own ideas. I like kids to be that way. And I had a class that I had a particular class that had several in there like that. And we were doing something, we were trying to decide, and I try to let them make the decisions as much as possible. I guide them to make the right decisions, but I want them to have some kind of involvement in making the decisions. And they were wanting to do something that I didn't think they needed to be doing, and they kind of argued with me about it. So the next day, I brought in one of my Telly Awards, and I held it up and I said, look at this. I passed it around because they're heavy. Telly Awards are heavy. They're made by the same people that make the Emmys and, you know, all that kind of stuff. So I said, this is a Telly Award for video production, independent filmmaking. It's an international award. I said, and, you know, only the top 10% of people that enter win one or something like that. I said, I want y'all to know I've got 7 of these. Okay? So I said it, it's still sitting on my desk. And so anytime they want to argue with me, I just point to that award and say, okay, teenagers, I think I may be the old man, but I sort of know what I'm talking about here. So, yeah, they get a kick out of that.
I bet they do. And it's such an important program. As we know, the world is moving towards media.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it doesn't matter what kind of job they have in the future. There's a great chance that, if nothing else, they will be one step ahead of everyone else. If they have a little bit of background in this, they understand a little bit about lighting, you know, what makes a good video.
Oh, yeah.
So it's just a huge thing. And it's actually very surprising to hear that it's only at one of the schools in this area.
It's at some other schools in the area, but not in our county. You know, like Oak Ridge has a program, Karnes has a program. I think either Lenoir City or Loudoun County has a program. There's a spattering of those around in East Tennessee. I think Fulton has a program. A lot of the programs started out kind of like Karnes. It started out, I believe, as a radio program years ago. These are CTE programs, and what that stands for is Career and Technical Education. The old people like me would know it as vocational education. That's what CTE is now. However, the programs that we have at our high school, it's incredible. We have health sciences, digital media and design, you know, graphic design, a whole program for that. We have criminal justice. We have 2 business programs. Teaching as a profession. So there's lots of things that kids can choose from. They're all electives. They're not required courses. I think they have to have at least 2 courses in one discipline, one program of study as a requirement for high school graduation. These are not just for the kids that are not going to college. A lot of people think CTE is just for the kids that are not going to college. And that is absolutely not true. Most of my students that go through my program are going to college. Not that that's the right path for everybody. And this is what I tell them. I tell them, maybe none of you will go into this for a living, okay, which is fine. I said, but unless you win the lottery, you're going to have to get a job one of these days. And every business in America uses media. Yeah. Every one. And if you have just like you said, if you have an understanding of how it's made and how it's used, it's just going to be an advantage for you. So I think a lot of the kids are are taking that to heart. But we do stuff that's fun. I mean, we do podcasts and we study social media. I'll spend a week or two on, Mr. Beast and Rhett and Link and, and how did they become who they are, and TikTok and, YouTube and all that kind of stuff. So I try to make it interesting for them and engaging so they'll feel, empowered to be creative. But on the other hand, I do a lot, especially if my lower level classes, is we do a lot of research, because I'm discovering that high school kids don't know how to write. They don't know how to write effectively, for the most part. Some of them do. I want them to practice doing research and then presenting information in a way that's easy to understand for someone else, because that's a skill they can take into any job. Absolutely. The folks are very supportive, and the school's supportive and accommodating when I need, to pull a kid out of class or a teacher out of class to do an interview, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, wouldn't you have loved to have something like that when you were younger?
Oh, gosh.
Like, when did you figure out that you could make film and video?
When I was in college. Because when I graduated in 1975, I went to Belmont for a couple of years, and I was in the music business program. So I was studying audio recording and singing and all that kind of stuff. And then I stayed out for a few years before I ended up going to Carson Newman. And they had a TV studio on the 4th floor of the library. I think maybe you've even been in there.
I think I have.
Yeah, we shot Tennessee Filmmaker in there.
That's exactly right. Okay. I have been there. That was fun.
So that was a TV studio. So that's when I first started doing video. Of course, that was 40-something years ago now. My bachelor's is in communications, so I've been in communications my whole career. But really, the video stuff, the real serious filmmaking stuff, didn't happen until the late 90s.
That's when everything seemed to change. When I was going through high school and into college, it didn't even occur to me that you could make a movie.
Yeah, exactly.
So I was into music, and I can buy a guitar. It's affordable. But in the early 2000s, a couple cameras came out that are prosumer cameras.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, it felt like the doors opened up a little bit, and you could, they're still pretty expensive, about $3,500, something like that. But you could get in there a little.
I remember buying my first Canon XL1.
That's the one.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it was about $3,500.
Yes.
And I thought it was hot crap on a stick, man.
Oh,
I thought it
yeah.
was something. And this was when the purists, the video and film purists, were, poo-pooing that whole idea of digital video. And I talked to a guy in Knoxville who shot the film, and he was a little bit of a film snob. And he looked at it, and I showed it to him because I was real proud of it. And he said, "Yeah, that's a nice toy."
This guy.
What a jerk. But anyway, but yeah, so that's really about the time that it turned around.
Yeah, and I think a couple years later after that, I ended up getting a Panasonic DVX 100.
Oh yeah, that was one of the ones too.
Yep. So it started with that Canon, went to that Panasonic, and it felt like the doors opened wide open for everybody, and we didn't realize we were still a few years off. I think it really changed around 2010 with the DSLR cameras.
Yeah, when DSLR came out. And also that was about the time that Blackmagic kind of came on the scene. And it changed everything. It made it accessible. And now it's even more accessible because you can make a frickin' movie on your iPhone. It was so funny. When we started back to school, I had some students that I had last year, and I said, "Y'all will really be proud of me." They said, "Why's that?" I said, "Because I upgraded my iPhone. I had an iPhone 7. And this is a commercial. I'm going to do a commercial for Xfinity. I was at T-Mobile. We've been at T-Mobile for years and paying a lot of money. And so we have Xfinity here at home for internet and cable. And I saw where they had phone service. I said, okay, we're going to change services. Perfect opportunity for me to upgrade. So I got an iPhone 15 Pro Max, okay, which is the top dog right now. I got my bill. I paid my bill this week for Xfinity, and it was a third of what I was paying T-Mobile. That's amazing. For the same service, and actually for better signal. So yeah, I mean, they're gorgeous. And so there's no excuse if you've got any kind of creative yearning to make a movie or to make a video. There's no excuse that you don't anymore. And not only can you make it easy, there's all you got the internet for distribution.
Yes.
You know, you can put it on YouTube now and get millions of people to watch it.
Yeah. And
So-
we skipped a step, the editing process. Remember back when,
yeah.
like, Final Cut was $1,000
Oh, yeah,
and all
yeah,
that, you
yeah.
know? Now there's a thing called CapCut. I haven't fooled around with it too much, but it's basically like a website, I think. And you can just edit everything online. I don't think it costs a dime.
Is that right?
Yeah. Or you can just get any of the major softwares and they're affordable.
Of course, I still do Final Cut, and that's what we use in the classroom. I have a in addition to the studio, I also have a computer lab. We have about 15 28-inch iMacs that all have Final Cut on it. Hopefully this year we're going to be able to offer, because this is new that the state has come out and approved, is we're going to be able to offer a Final Cut certificate. So when you graduate, you'll be certified in Final Cut.
That's amazing.
You don't have to, even when you graduate, when you finish my course, you'll be certified in Final Cut.
Final Cut is where my heart will always lie.
Oh, yeah, me too.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, me too. But other than that, life is life. I've not done a whole lot of other stuff. The last year I've had, I'm not about to die or anything, but I have had some health issues. Last, I guess it was October, I was on my way to school one morning. It was still dark because I usually get there about an hour before school starts. Man, I just started hurting in my stomach. It was just, my gut was just killing me. I was, 5 minutes away from school, and I turned around, I said, something is not right. So I turned around and started heading back home. And all of a sudden, I broke out in a sweat. I was soaked. It was like I had been dunked in water. And I said, there's something wrong. I didn't know if I was having a heart attack or what. And so about 5 minutes before I got home, I called 911, said, you're going to need to send an ambulance to my house. And Dana, she had not left. My wife, she had not left for work yet. And Bailey was home too. I came in and they knew something was wrong. So the ambulance got there. They put me in the ambulance. They tried to get the stickers on me from my heart, and they wouldn't even stick because I was so wet from sweat. It was interesting because they told Dana, said, where do you want him to go? And she said, I want him to go to Park West. And they said, I don't think that's a good idea. His heart rate's 35. We need to get him to the nearest ER. So they took me to Methodist, and I ended up staying there for 4 days. What happened was, apparently I had some kind of infection in my gut, but, it cleared up. And after, actually a couple of weeks, it took it to kind of resolve itself. But I was in the hospital for 4 days. But the weird thing about it is, I was laying there in the emergency room, just doubled over in pain. I've never had pain like that. And they gave me something and it didn't work. And then the nurse came in and said, now this is going to throw you for a loop. I said, all right, whatever. So she injected me, I had my IV in, she gave it to me. And man, good Lord. All I did, I closed my eyes and all I could see was shapes and colors. They gave me ketamine.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And I said, I've never dropped acid, but I can imagine that's exactly what it would be like.
Uh-huh.
But man, it knocked the pain out.
Yeah.
Yeah, just one dose of it. And that's what Matthew Perry died from, so some people use that as a recreational drug. They also use it for therapy for people that are drug addicts, So anyway, I got over that. But then a couple of weeks later, I started having this terrible itch.
You mentioned that last time we spoke. So you had an itch in your arm.
You can look at my arms right now and you can see bruises. So I had this terrible itch and it was just all over. I didn't have a rash, anything, and it was just horrible. But I did find out that, there's serious things that can cause itching, liver disease, cancer, thyroid disease, there's a litany of things that can cause all over itching. And so I went to my doctor and he couldn't figure it out. He said, well, let's just do a whole bunch of blood work. They did everything. And everything came back perfectly normal. I was worried that all those years of having a Diet Coke every afternoon was going to catch up with me and my liver was failing, but it wasn't. It's fine. Anyway, so I go to a dermatologist. They said we could biopsy you, but you don't have a rash, so there's nothing to biopsy. And I go to an allergist. This was last spring. They did some allergy testing. I was allergic to a few things, but it wasn't like anything serious. So finally, all of a sudden I broke out with this rash. And I go back to my dermatologist and she said, yeah, we can biopsy it now since you have a rash. So they did. A week later, I went back for the results because I had mentioned this to her the first time. I said, have you ever heard of anything called Grover's disease? And she says, yeah. She says, this could be it. And sure enough, I have something called Grover's disease.
What is it?
It was only discovered or named in about 1970. I am one of the lucky 1 in 1,000 people that get it. It's the way that your body deals with heat, either external or internal heat. And there's no cure. They don't know what causes it. It may last a year and go away and never come back. It may last 10 years and never go away. There's not a lot that can be done for it. I'm on 2 antihistamines a day, plus I have to lather up with anti-itch lotion about 3 or 4 times a day, all over from my ankles to my neck. There are people that are have it a lot worse than me, okay? But I told somebody, I said, if I died and went to hell, I think my punishment would be Grover's disease because it's constant. It's 24 hours a day. It doesn't stop. It may stop for a little while because the anti-itch cream, helps, but it doesn't cure it. It doesn't solve it. So it's been a big pain in my butt for, almost a year now. Like right now, I'm sitting here and my back's itching. It's just a struggle, but what are you going to do?
Well, I'm sorry to hear that. Have you tried more ketamine?
Oh, no. I don't think I'll ever do that again. Man, it was wild, though. I told Dana, I said, I thought I had died and gone to heaven, but then I didn't see anybody that I recognized, so I figured I hadn't died yet.
Shoot,
it was wild.
You saw behind the Matrix.
Man, I did. I've never experienced anything like that before.
Yeah.
So it's a horse tranquilizer.
Yeah.
That's what it is, so anyway. But,
shooting those horses into the center of the universe.
I know.
Yeah, have you had your eye much on the film festival stuff?
I've been keeping up with it. As a matter of fact, I had a couple people reach out to me because I tipped my toe in the water a little bit and posted. I said, if anybody's looking for an old guy to act in your elevator pitch film. So I had a couple people reach out to me. And one of them, I told somebody, I said, yeah, I'll do that. And then the other one, I said, well, no, I've already told somebody else. I don't feel like it'd be right for me to be in 2 different ones, So we'll see if that happens. It may or may not happen, but it'd be fun to do that.
I'm not going to give away who the team is or anything.
Yeah.
But if that worked out, that is going to be my favorite movie.
It would be cool because this is a really, really talented filmmaker who I've known for a long time. And because, I didn't get to do that when I was running the film festival.
Yeah, for sure.
I just, I could have, but it wouldn't have, my rule was if I'm in your movie, it can't be up for any awards. There was enough rumors about cheating and bias and all that kind of stuff without putting fuel on the fire.
I thought I was a conspiracy person. No. The film community are the conspiracy people.
That's for sure. That is for sure. So
I hope that works out,
Yeah,
that would be really cool.
Yeah, I didn't go last year. I wanted to, and Kurt was very nice and he invited me, and I just kind of felt it was a little too soon. I didn't want to go and say, well, crap, this is way better than mine, or I could have done better. I didn't want to put myself in a position to be critical of anybody any more than I was. I was a little critical last time we talked, but I think they're doing their own thing. And which is a good thing. It's different from what we did, which is fine. I think what we did was good for a lot of people. Some of those people are involved in the new film festival. To be quite honest, a kind of a higher level than what we gave them an opportunity to do with Knoxville.
Well, I always tell everyone, if it couldn't be you running the show, I'm really glad it's Kurt.
Yeah.
He's got the right stuff.
Yeah, he does. And me too. That's exactly how I feel. If it wasn't me, I'm glad it's Kurt because he's not only got the kind of right attitude, he's got the knowledge, and he's got, the backing of Visit Knoxville. You can't sneeze at that. That's huge. Obviously, if I'm in one, I'll go see it, this year.
Well, I certainly hope that happens. But Keith, this was fun, man.
Yeah, man.
Catching up with Keith.
Yeah,
you too.
Absolutely. Catching up. Who knows what's going to happen in the future? I don't know. I may have another documentary in me. This is interesting. I have a friend of mine. He was actually my youth minister, music minister when I was in high school. And he lives in Dallas, or he lives near Dallas, and teaches at a university there. When the WBIR story hit Facebook this morning, I had some people making comments, He said something about, he said, and this week I showed the Clinton 12 for the 75th time to my classes at Dallas Baptist University.
Oh, wow.
He's shown it 75 times. He shows it every semester to all of his classes.
Yeah.
I said, well, that's a legacy that I can live with, but I may have another documentary. I don't know. I don't think that I'll probably, do any kind of film thing as far as like a film festival or an event, or because some people had said, well, why don't you bring back the 7-day shootout? Just do the 7-day shootout. And I said, we did that. I don't want to infringe on anybody else's turf now, that I kind of rolled up my turf and took it home. Teaching school's great because I had 9 weeks off this summer. I didn't do a whole lot. I put down a new floor in my kitchen, which I showed you when you came in, I did a couple other things. I fixed a couple of electrical things and it didn't kill me. So I didn't, get electrocuted. So I wouldn't call it semi-retirement because I'm still working, 40 hours a week plus, for 10 months of the year. But anyway, it's a different phase of my life. I'm kind of winding things down a little bit over the last couple of years, and that's what you should do when you're 66. It may take me 15 years to wind things down completely, kind of doing some of the things that I want to do rather than feel like I'm chasing something all the time.
Yeah. Well, I'd love to see another documentary from you. And by the way, if you had to recommend one of your documentaries, which one would you say is the one?
Of the 16 films that I've made, documentaries that I've made, the two biggies obviously are The Clinton 12 and Secret City, The Oak Ridge Story. The War Years, that was a 2-parter. The first part of that. Those are both available online. You can Google them. You can watch them online. But those are kind of probably the best representation of the kind of documentary that I made.
Is there anything else you want to mention before we head off?
I don't think so.
Got it all
I don't
in?
think so. I'm proud of my boys. Just kind of update everybody on my kids.
Yeah.
The film people that know them, watch them grow up. Ethan is 26. He just started a new full-time job as the professor of percussion and assistant director of athletic bands at UT Chattanooga.
That's amazing.
Yeah. He's been there for 2 years as an adjunct, basically a full-time adjunct, but he didn't have a full-time, he wasn't like a full-time employee. Well, he just started in this month.
Yeah.
Wow. And so he's doing that. He's crazy busy. Bailey graduated from Pellissippi this last spring with his associate's degree in audio production engineering on the dean's list. Yes. And with honors. And he's going back this year for a digital design associate's to go along with his audio degree.
Wow.
He thought about doing video, and he was like, well, Dad can teach me whatever I need to know about video.
That's true.
And but this will just make him more marketable, So they're all doing good, and Dana's Dana. We've been married for 33 years this year.
Congratulations.
Yeah, so she hadn't killed me yet.
Congratulations again.
I always tell the old joke. I said, I told my wife the other day that I wanted to be cremated. She made me an appointment for Tuesday. But anyway,
yeah. Well,
so life is good, and I'm still around. I'm not dead. I'm not retired. I'm still going to be doing some stuff. I was just needed a break, a little bit of a break. But I think I'm ready to kind of jump back into some things.
Good to hear.
Thanks, Jacob.
Thank you, Keith.
All right.
Yes, there it was. Keith McDaniel. Man, it's always great talking with him. I had a lot of fun catching up with our great friend, and I look forward to doing that for years to come. I know that the Knoxville Film Festival has a very special place in our heart and in this city's history, and I'm unbelievably thankful to Keith for all the hard work that he put into that film festival over the years. Building on top of the great work that Keith has done over the years is the Film Fest Knox, which is taking place on November 14th through 17th of this year. I look forward to that film festival, and I look forward to seeing all of you out there. Until then, be good to yourself and be good to others, and I will talk with you again soon.